Los Angeles, September 1972. The Warner Brothers lot in Burbank is doing what it always does on a Tuesday afternoon, which is everything simultaneously and none of it quietly. Golf carts cutting between stages. Crew members moving with the specific purposeful stride of people who are late for something that was already late for something else. Generators humming. Someone on a walkie-talkie repeating a number nobody is responding to. The smell of the lot in September is particular and unmistakable. Dry California heat mixed with fresh lumber and industrial paint, and the electrical smell of equipment that has been running since before sunrise, and will keep running until after dark, because the light costs money, and money does not wait for the light to rest. This is Hollywood. It does not pause. It does not slow down. It absorbs everything that happens inside it and keeps moving. Indifferent as weather. Relentless as rent. The lot has existed long enough that it has its own specific gravity, pulling people toward it from every corner of the world with the promise of something. Not always the thing they came for, but something. And the people it has shaped and discarded, and occasionally transformed into something larger than themselves. Walk its streets in September light, without fully understanding that they are inside a machine that is indifferent to all of them equally, that has been indifferent to greater talents than theirs, and will continue being indifferent long after they are gone. Stage 14 is a mid-sized interior stage dressed this week as a martial arts school. Wooden floors brought in from a prop warehouse. Training equipment arranged along the walls with the care of people who understand that cameras see everything and forgive nothing. Hanging bags, wooden dummies. The specific ordered functionality of a working space rather than a decorative one. The afternoon shoot wrapped 20 minutes ago, and the crew is breaking down the day's setup with the efficient choreography of people who have done this so many times that the movements are automatic, requiring no thought, leaving the mind free to think about traffic on the 101 and what is in the refrigerator at home and whether the parking validation runs out at 7 or 8. The stage has the specific quality of a space that has been fully inhabited all day and is now being vacated, the energy of production draining out of it slowly, the way heat drains from a room when the sun moves off the window, leaving something quieter and more honest behind. Robert Clouse is in his director's chair in the corner near the playback monitor. Small leather notebook open on his knee. Precise handwriting filling the page in organized lists. He is reviewing the afternoon's footage with the concentrated attention of a man who does not consider the day finished until he has accounted for everything in it. Clouse has been directing since before most of his current crew were old enough to drive, and he carries this experience the way certain men carry experience, not as a burden and not as a performance, but simply as the accumulated weight of someone who has seen enough to know what matters and what does not, and has made his peace with the difference. He is satisfied with what he sees on the monitor. He does not show this visibly because film sets reward caution, and he has learned this lesson in the most direct way available, which is by celebrating too early and paying for it afterward. And he does not make that mistake anymore. He is in the middle of a note about the third setup when the stage door opens and Bruce Lee walks in. He enters without announcement. No pause at the threshold, no scan of the room, no performance of arrival. Just a man coming through a door into a space he is familiar with, moving with the unhurried economy that everyone who spends time around him eventually notices and then cannot stop noticing. The specific quality of a body from which everything unnecessary has been removed, every movement exactly what the moment requires, and nothing beyond it. Black training clothes, the clothes he has been in since the morning session at his school on the other side of the city. He spots Clouse and changes direction toward him without breaking stride. Clouse looks up. His expression shifts from the internal focus of a man accounting for his day to something warmer and more open. They have been working together for months now, developing something neither of them can fully see yet, but both of them believe in. And the relationship built across those months is one of the more honest professional relationships either of them has in this city, which is not a city known for honest professional relationships. Bruce takes the folding chair leaning against the monitor cart, opens it in a single motion, sits. Clouse waves his assistant away. The stage continues its wind down around them, and they talk the way two people talk, when the professional distance has dissolved and something more genuine has arrived in its place, easy and unhurried. The conversation of two serious people who have found their rhythm and are enjoying the end of a day that went the way it was supposed to go. Clouse asks about the shoulder. Bruce says it is better, by which he means workable. Bruce asks about the script pages from last week, and Clouse explains the structural thinking, and Bruce listens with the specific quality of attention he brings to things that interest him, which is total and direct and slightly unnerving until you get used to it. The quality of someone who is reading what you are saying rather than simply waiting for you to finish. They talk about the schedule. They talk about the San Francisco location. They talk about casting, which is always the conversation that reveals what a project actually is underneath what everyone says it is. The stage empties around them. The light through the stage door narrows as the afternoon advances. Two professionals at the end of a good day, comfortable in the specific way of people who have earned each other's respect through the only method that produces real respect, which is work done honestly over time. That is when the stage door opens again and Kurt Russell walks in. He is 21 years old, and he fills a room the way 21-year-olds fill rooms when they are tall and broad and have spent enough time in front of cameras to have become comfortable with being looked at. Jeans, half-open collared shirt. The loose, confident stride of someone whose life has so far confirmed at every turn that being Kurt Russell is a genuinely good thing to be. He has been acting since he was a child. He is talented and knows it, and wears this knowledge with the specific lightness of someone who has not yet been tested in the way that eventually tests everyone, which is not a criticism, just a fact, the kind of fact that only becomes visible in retrospect. He is here to see Clouse. They know each other from a production 2 years back. Enough history for an informal visit, and Russell has been on the lot today for a meeting on another stage and stopped in on the way out, the way he does things, on impulse, assuming the welcome because the welcome has always been there. He spots Clouse and raises a hand, crossing toward him with the comfortable directness of someone who knows where he is going. He notices the man sitting beside Clouse the way you notice furniture, peripherally, without investment. A lean Chinese man in black training clothes, not large, sitting very still. Russell's attention moves past him without pausing. They shake hands. They do the rapid shorthand of people who know each other well enough to skip the formal version, jokes and references, and the compressed language of shared history. Russell is funny, in the genuine way, actually enjoying the room rather than performing enjoyment, and Clouse responds to it because it is real, and real things are not so common on a film lot that you take them for granted. They talk about the meeting Russell just came from, which produced no definitive outcome and left everyone with the pleasant sensation that something might happen while committing to nothing, which is the standard result of most meetings in this city, and Russell describes it with the specific comic precision of someone who finds it funny rather than frustrating, which is a choice that requires a certain kind of confidence. Then he looks again at the man in the folding chair, the way you look again at something you filed away too quickly. He sees the same thing he saw before: lean, Chinese, black training clothes, very still, not talking, not performing attention, just present in a way that is different from how most people are present. The difference between a room that is occupied and a room that is inhabited. "Who's this?" he says. The casual tone of someone indicating furniture. Head tilt toward Bruce. "One of your guys?" The stage does not react. But two crew members near the lighting rig exchange the briefest possible glance, the compressed communication of people who know something. The man talking does not know and are watching to see what happens next. Clouse's expression shifts, the small, precise shift of a man who has heard something that requires a correction and is deciding how to make it. Bruce speaks first. "I'm Robert's guest." The voice even and unhurried, the same tone he uses for everything. He looks at Russell directly, the complete calm attention of someone who is reading the situation accurately and is in no particular hurry about what he is reading. Bruce Lee. Russell processes the name. He has heard it. The Green Hornet. The footage that circulates in the industry of this particular person, moving in ways that cameras struggle to follow. The specific reverence in certain voices when the name comes up in certain conversations. He has heard it. But the name is arriving now attached to a lean man in a folding chair who does not match the architecture the name has built in his mind, and his 21-year-old nervous system is running the calculation. It always runs automatically, measuring size and weight and what those measurements imply. And the calculation keeps producing the same answer: 140 pounds, 5 feet 7, and he cannot make that answer equal what Clouse is about to say. "You're smaller than I thought," Russell says. Three crew members within earshot stop what they are doing. Not visibly, not dramatically, just stop. The particular stillness of people who have heard something and are waiting to see what comes next. Clouse sets his notebook on the monitor cart with a small, deliberate sound. "Bruce," he says, "is one of the most dangerous human beings on this planet." Flat. No performance. The tone of someone giving information rather than making an argument. "I want to be accurate about that." Russell looks at Clouse, then at Bruce, then at Clouse again. He is doing the calculation, running it a second time, hoping for a different result. 140 pounds. Folding chair. One of the most dangerous human beings on the planet. The numbers will not resolve. His 21 years of life have not yet equipped him with the framework that would allow them to resolve, and the room is watching, and the smile is already forming. The smile that has opened every door he has needed, opened so far, and that he has no particular reason to believe will fail him now. "Come on," he says. The smile wide and easy, and operating at full power. He looks at Bruce with the bright particular challenge of someone who has decided that forward is the only direction available to him. One of the most dangerous people on the planet. He shakes his head, the small theatrical shake of someone who has made up their mind. "I mean, no disrespect, but you'd have to show me something like that." He rolls his right shoulder forward, the gesture of a young man who has decided to offer himself as a target with the complete conviction that the offer will not be accepted. Chin up, body open. The specific posture of someone performing confidence because they have not yet learned that performing it and having it are two entirely different things, the difference between a photograph of a fire and an actual fire. His fingers tap his own shoulder twice, casual, light. The tap of someone indicating a location they are certain will remain untouched. Hit me. Right here. Full power. Let's see what you've got. The stage goes quiet. Not almost quiet. Quiet. The crew member pushing a cart 2 meters away has stopped the cart. The grips near the lighting rig have turned around completely. Clouse has picked up his notebook from the monitor cart and is holding it without opening it. Perfectly still. The stillness of a man who wants to observe what is about to happen without doing anything that might alter it. The assistant with the clipboard has taken one small unconscious step backward. 7 people within the stage have oriented themselves toward the folding chair, and the tall young man standing before it, with his shoulder forward and his chin up and his smile at full power and his 21 years of unexamined physical confidence, arranged in the posture of someone who believes he has just won a room. By the simple act of making an offer, he is certain cannot be accepted. Nobody is talking. Nobody is moving. The hum of the overhead lights is suddenly the loudest thing in the room, and outside the stage walls, the Warner Brothers lot continues its indifferent Tuesday business. And inside, for this specific suspended moment, the entire world has contracted to the space between one shoulder and one hand. Bruce Lee stands up from the folding chair. Not the way people stand when they are preparing for something. The way he stands up from any chair. The same economy. The same absence of announcement. No shift in expression. No settling of weight. No breath taken and released. For Bruce Lee, there is no difference between prepared and unprepared, because there is no distance between what he is and what he does. He is standing now. He looks at Russell's shoulder. He says, in the same tone he has used for everything since Russell walked in, "Are you sure?" Russell laughs. The laugh of someone who has heard a question and found it confirmation of everything he already believed. The laugh of someone who mistakes caution for weakness because he has not yet learned that the two things are not related. "Yeah," he says. "Go ahead. Full power." Bruce says, "All right." What happens next takes less time than it takes to describe. Bruce Lee's right hand leaves his side. It travels to Kurt Russell's shoulder in a motion that is not slow and not fast, but simply exact. The way everything he does is exact. Every unnecessary thing removed until only the motion remains, pure and complete, and arriving at the contact point with the full transfer of force that 20 years of daily work has built into that kinetic chain. Hips rotating, shoulder turning, elbow extending, wrist snapping. Every segment of the body contributing its portion to a total that arrives at the shoulder in a duration so brief that the crew watching will later disagree about whether they saw it or simply saw what came after it. The way you sometimes cannot be certain whether you saw the lightning or only heard the thunder. One crew member near the back of the stage, a grip who has been on 100 sets and seen most of what film sets produce, will say afterward that he did not see the punch. He saw Russell's shoulder move, and then he saw Russell against the wall, and there was nothing in between, just before and after. The middle. Edited out by something moving too fast for his eyes to follow. He has thought about this for 20 years afterward, and he still cannot explain it any other way. Kurt Russell moves. Not stumbles, not flinches. Moves, the way objects move when force is applied to them. The body obeying physics before the mind has had any opportunity to weigh in on the matter. He goes sideways and backward simultaneously, the impact traveling from the shoulder through the frame in a wave that reaches the legs. And the legs do what legs do under unexpected load, which is take a step that was not planned, and then another. And then the stage wall is there, and his back finds it, and he stops. He is standing, his legs held. But his right shoulder is carrying something his left shoulder is not carrying, a specific new weight that has nothing to do with physical weight. And his expression is the expression of a face in the process of revising something. It believed completely 30 seconds ago. The specific expression of someone whose most recent certainty has just been removed by the most direct means available, and who is honest enough to sit with the removal rather than argue against it. The stage holds 4 full seconds of complete silence. 4 actual seconds in which the only sound is the overhead lights and the distant, indifferent noise of the lot outside. Clouse breaks it with a short exhale through the nose, quiet and compressed. The sound of a man who is waiting for something specific and has just watched it arrive at exactly the time and in exactly the form he expected. The sound of a man who has known Bruce Lee long enough to have stopped being surprised by Bruce Lee while retaining the ability to be satisfied by him, which is a different thing from surprise, and in some ways more valuable. His mouth does what mouths do when their owner is preventing a smile from becoming a grin and not entirely managing it, the corners working against the professional composure of a director who has standards about how he presents himself on his own stage and is finding those standards genuinely difficult to maintain at this particular moment. And he does not fully succeed. And he does not particularly mind that he does not fully succeed. Russell is looking at his shoulder, then at Bruce, then at his shoulder again. His mouth is slightly open. The smile that has been running continuously since he walked through the stage door has stopped completely. The machinery of it switched off as cleanly as a light. And what has replaced it is something quieter and more useful. The expression of someone who was wrong about something significant and knows it, and is sitting with this knowledge without flinching, which is not a small thing, which is in fact the most important thing that will happen to Kurt Russell on the Warner Brothers lot today. More important than the meeting he came from, and more important than whatever he goes to next. Because this is the kind of knowledge that does not leave. The kind that installs itself in the body rather than the mind, and remains there long after the mind has moved on to other things. Bruce Lee is standing exactly where he was standing when he threw the punch. Right hand back at his side. Expression unchanged since the moment Russell walked in. The same calm and the same directness and the same complete absence of anything that needs to be performed. Because for Bruce Lee, the outcome of this moment was never in question, and things that are not in question do not require performance. He looks at Russell against the wall and says, in the same even tone he has used for everything, "Next time you walk into a room and want to know who someone is, ask before you speak." One beat. The beat of someone choosing the last word with the care it deserves. It costs less. Russell pushes off the wall. He straightens his collar. He makes the small physical adjustments that produce the appearance of composure, while the internal accounting catches up with what the body already knows. The body knowing first, as it always does, the mind arriving later with its explanations. He looks at Bruce with the expression of someone who has just paid for a lesson and is deciding whether the price was fair, and arriving at the conclusion that it was in fact remarkably fair given what he received for it, which is a lesson that would have cost him considerably more in other circumstances and from other teachers, some of whom would have delivered it without the restraint that Bruce Lee delivered it with, which is its own part of the lesson, which Russell will understand more fully later when he has had time to think about it properly. "Okay," he says, one flat word, the word of someone who has revised an estimate, acknowledged the revision, and understood that additional commentary is not available to him right now, and that the absence of additional commentary is itself the correct response. Bruce Lee nods. sits back down in the folding chair with the same economy with which he left it, picks up the conversation with Clouse about San Francisco exactly where it was interrupted, because for Bruce Lee, it was not interrupted. The punch was simply something that needed to happen, and now it has happened, and the conversation about San Francisco was the thing before and is the thing after, and the line between them is perfectly intact, continuous, unbroken, the way his attention is always continuous and unbroken, moving from what is required to what is required. Nothing carried between them that does not belong. Clouse opens his notebook. The smile working at the corners of his mouth does the thing it has been trying to do since the punch landed, which has become a grin, and he allows it for 3 full seconds before his director's face reassembles and he responds to the question about the third location with the specific calm of a man returning to the business of the day, which is the business he is always returning to, which is the only business that matters to him, which is making something worth making out of the time and the materials available. Russell says goodbye. Clouse says goodbye with the warmth of someone who likes him, and the additional warmth of someone who has just watched something they found deeply satisfying and is choosing to be gracious about not showing it more fully. Russell looks at Bruce one final time. Bruce looks back with the same expression he has had since the moment Russell walked in, calm and direct, and carrying nothing extra. The face of someone who has nothing to perform because he has nothing to prove, who proved everything 20 years ago in training halls and on dojo floors, and in the specific daily discipline of someone who decided early what they wanted to become and became it, and does not need a stage door and a folding chair and a 21-year-old's shoulder to confirm it, because the confirmation was never the point. Russell nods. Bruce nods. The nod of 2 people who have arrived at an understanding through the most direct means available and have no further business with each other today. The stage door closes. Outside, the Warner Brothers lot is doing what it was doing before any of this happened, which is everything simultaneously and none of it quietly. Golf carts, walkie-talkies, the dry September heat, and the golden California light doing its thing across the buildings, and the equipment, and the people moving between them. Kurt Russell is walking toward the parking structure with his hands in his pockets, and his right shoulder carrying something his left shoulder does not carry. He is 21 years old. He is going to have a long career. He is going to walk into hundreds of rooms across that career. Rooms full of people he does not yet know. And in each of those rooms, before he opens his mouth about anyone in them, he is going to take one extra moment to ask the question he did not ask today, the question that costs nothing and returns everything. He learned it on stage 14 on a Tuesday in September 1972 from a man in a folding chair in black training clothes who threw one punch, said 2 sentences, and went back to talking about San Francisco as though nothing had happened. Because, for that man, nothing had happened. Because, for that man, the punch was just what was required in that moment, and San Francisco was what was required in the next moment. And the continuity between those 2 things was unbroken, because his attention was always unbroken, moving from what is needed to what is needed, carrying nothing between them that does not belong. The lot is loud. The light is gold. Stage 14 is already moving on to tomorrow. The equipment being repositioned, the floor being cleared, the space being remade into whatever it needs to be next, indifferent to what it was today, as all spaces are, as all spaces will always be, containing what they contain for exactly as long as they contain it, and then releasing it completely, keeping nothing, remembering nothing, the way the afternoon keeps nothing and remembers nothing as it becomes evening, which it is doing now, the gold deepening, the shadows lengthening across the lot, the temperature dropping by the 2 degrees that September evenings in Los Angeles drop, which is enough to notice and not enough to require a jacket. And somewhere in a folding chair beside a monitor, a man in black training clothes is talking about a location in San Francisco with a director who cannot quite stop smiling, and the day is ending the way all days end, which is simply by becoming the next one, carrying forward what it carries, leaving behind what it leaves, indifferent to the difference, as days are, as days will always be. Long after the men in this room are gone, and the room itself is gone, and the lot has become something else entirely, which everything will, which is not a sad thing, but simply a true one.